But who better than me?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the casual stream with your boy Face the Kid. I know I've been off for a couple weeks, I guess on and off on the channel. Apologies, a few bits and pieces I've been sorting out, but we are back, and from next week, hopefully, we should be fully back in the swing of things. We're also in that period of the year where not a lot happens and everything's like a lot of hearsay and all of that good stuff. But yeah, I had to do one thing at least for this week. We have got watch-alongs tomorrow and Sunday. We're doing no SummerSlam watch-alongs because that's pretty much the only thing I'm looking forward to for the next couple of weeks until Dillian White versus Moses Talma. With that being said, though, like one of the reasons I did this stream, especially on a Friday, as you guys will have seen, that there isn't actually a basis picks this week. I was tempted to do one for Oscar Duarte and Kenneth Sims Jr., but no. To be honest, if the Kenshiro Taraji card that happened on Wednesday, if that had actually taken place over the weekend, then I would have done. Like if it was on Sunday or something, I would have done it. But yeah, just the one Golden Boy card by itself. Uh, mm. But there's other stuff to talk about. We've got Joshua Buatsi going to Queensbury, probably the worst kept secret in the game over, I guess, the last 2 to 3 weeks, because I knew about that several weeks ago. Obviously, we've got the stuff between. We've still got the continued fallout from Daniel Dubois and Alexander Usyk, which I'm definitely going to be talking about a little bit later on. More women signed by MVP, some of which obviously have left Matchroom, i.e. Terry Harper, which I kind of saw it coming, but I just thought there was still a couple fights left on the deal. So I can reach out to Terry, see if I can get her on the channel, see if she can speak anything about that. I'm going to try and reach out to her next week. I've got a few interviews that hopefully will be getting sorted for next week. I won't give you the names of the people yet because I don't like to disappoint you like that, but I do have a couple that I'm working on. And all of them will be fresh people, no one that's actually been on the channel before, which is always good and refreshing, gives new content in that sense. Beatrice Ferreira, she's having another fight, but she's having a fight in Brazil on, I think it's a local Brazilian broadcast. Now, just a couple months ago, she had still said that that she was with Matchroom, even though she was fighting on the MVP show. And Eddie was, still calling saying, yep, we just allowed her to do that show there, but she's still our fighter. Well, that's two shows in a row now that she hasn't, that she's been off brand, off platform. And I think it's, look, as much as Eddie can maybe say otherwise, I think it's quite clear to see now he's officially done with women's boxing. With the exception of TMA Ayton, who's number one, she's just come around. She's 18 years old, so she ain't earning that much money. She's probably going to be very low down on the cards, but because she can deliver a knockout, that's a good platform for her. But let's check the Matchroom roster. Terry Harper, last fight was on GBM. Fight before that, I think, was the Rhiannon Dixon fight. So yeah, that was on a Matchroom card. Rhiannon Dixon, no idea what they're doing with her. She, as far as I remember, she was moving up in. She was moving down in weight from 135 down to 130. Haven't heard anything about her since. Sandy Ryan, her last 2 fights was on Top Rank ESPN. Katie Taylor, last 2 fights was on Netflix, but okay, that one we kind of accept. Beatrice Ferreira, her last 2 fights, one is obviously on MVP on DAZN, and the other one, like I said, this is now it's coming up is a Brazilian fight on the Brazilian platform, whose name I don't remember off the top of my head. Obviously, there's no Chantel Cameron. There's no, they, who else was even on? Oh, Stephanie Pinheiro had one fight on the Puerto Rican card and hasn't been seen again from the Matchroom banner. So I really don't know kind of what's going on. I have to assume that at this point they're just deciding to get rid of all of them, but it really doesn't make much sense. Now, look, we know that during that pandemic period, yes, it was very financially economical to put on just a lot of women's boxing. They weren't making as much of the men, and they was having really good scraps, and it was really entertaining from that sense. But since then, obviously, all of them have grown, expanded their fan bases, opened up their market value and whatnot. Um, and maybe they, possibly if it's a down to pounds and pence, maybe now they actually command bigger purses than they can actually generate, unless maybe someone like a maybe an Ebony Bridges had the potential to generate certain purses, but again, I doubt she would have been on the shelf for as long as she was if that was the case. I'm talking about prior to the pregnancy. So I at this point it just feels as if, yeah, like they're looking at pounds and pence, looking at the investment and deciding that none of these lot are worth the investment. But I tell you now, and this is just, totally unbiased and just no agenda to the statement. There's plenty of male fighters that they've got on their roster that they could have cut before some of these women that they've cut. And that's the truth. Some of these women have delivered a lot more action and bang for your buck than some of the men that they've still got on the rosters and are keeping on the rosters. And at times, it definitely feels very much like you know, well, what was it that Harlem Eubank said? The go along to get along to go along gang, or the go along to get along. Like there's definitely some of those type of fighters that is still on the books, or might or are getting deals and getting favoritism over some of these other people that actually deliver consistent performance. So yeah, I won't really say too much more regarding that, but it's just a shame that the stable has been allowed to deplete as much as it has. Although on the one hand, that's a bad thing for me, that it's sort of just letting go of basically the entire roster of women that you got, barring a couple. But on the other hand, at least you're not just holding people to a contract and that they've got no way out of it and they're just sitting on the shelf and not getting fights. And at least a good bulk of them have been signed to MVP, which is a benefit. But saying that, you've got to be careful about MVP, because it's all well and good signing all of his talent, but I think we're seeing it with Queensbury and all the heavyweights that they've signed. All right, you can have as much of this talent as you want. Do you have the money to fund the events, to get all of them out and get them out regularly? Because it's embarrassing, the fact that someone like a Joseph Parker has had one round of action in nearly 2 years. By the next time he gets in the ring, it might even have been over 2 years at that point. Ajit Caballo's had three of the biggest wins ever on Riyadh seasons. As soon as he gets signed to Frank Warren and Queensbury, all of a sudden he can't get a fight. Is that because he's on too much money and they can't afford to put him in the ring with someone decent that generates? Obviously, you've been used to all of the we've been used to the Riyadh season stuff and the Ring Magazine stuff, where you're putting the top guys in against the top guys because they're getting paid, and they're getting paid, I guess, whatever it is they want or close to what they want. Whereas when someone like Frank's got to put on a show, does he have the budget to be able to pay an Ajit Caballo what he wants, and then also pay his opponent what they want, and then still have a decent undercard? Because you can't get away with some of the dross he used to try and put on. Now he's actually got standards, and he's got the bit of the backing. So you have that. You've got things like Fabio Wardley that's out there. Obviously he said it was because they wanted the stadium fight. Okay, cool, fair enough. But you've got him, like Lawrence Okoli hasn't really been out too much, but obviously he wouldn't. Him and his opponents haven't really been on the biggest amount of money because he only just reached the sort of the heavyweight scene. So in that sense, it's maybe not too bad for him. Ergovic, I mean, he's not exactly one of the cheapest. Joe Joyce, I mean, look, his value would have gone down immensely, but ultimately, you're looking at someone who was making pretty decent money. Chisora, I'm pretty sure if he wanted to, he could have been back out again by now. Joseph Park, as we said, like one fight in 2 years now. Yes, I know that he makes good money on most of his fights, but Zhang, he's not been back out since the Makhmudov fight. But I know that he was calling for a fight the other day. Him and Sean. So you know, obviously you just put out Vladislav Sorenko, who didn't really do much. The young, the second tier of stable, okay, the Adelays and those ones, okay, they're gonna be a bit cheaper on the pocket, so maybe you can get them out a bit more. But I just think that's basically what the issue is with Queensbury. They're signing up all the heavyweights and they ain't got enough money to basically get them all out or get them out regularly without the assistance of Turkey, which obviously means that now they're kind of at the mercy of Turkey to do certain events. And MVP want to make sure that they don't end up falling into that trap as well. Because don't get it twisted, as much as the women that they've hired, there's a lot of good women, a lot of good fights that they're bringing out and they're having. Not all of those women are going to be able to draw crowds and generate the necessary money or revenue that they want, unless everything they're doing is going on Netflix, with the hope that maybe just the viewership alone and the internal marketing that you can do on the events is what will cover it. I guess we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, that's sort of my first take on the first couple things. Let's get into the chat because I haven't even said hello to nobody, right? Let's see who's in the building, who's saying what. Um, Star Fox, shout out to you. Raw, the dog let Base have some time off to do something. Even undefeated HR treated him better than this. To be fair, he was actually at my friend's house for the last couple of days. So I've had some time where I've been doing some other social stuff. But he's cool, man. He's downstairs relaxing after food. He's actually been very, very good recently. Well, he's good anyway, but like he's been even better considering he's about to go into a new stage of life that is going to be very, very confusing to him. We'll wait and see. Shout out to Philip. Salute to you. And he says this month feels like a holiday for boxing. Yeah, August is always the end of July, and then the month of August is always kind of that holiday period for boxing. It's all because of it's holidays from school, like bank holiday, not bank holiday, sorry, but yeah, like the school holidays and that. So because of that, they don't really put on a lot of shows because they don't think a lot of people have money to really to go to them, and a lot of people are going to be doing other activities. Shout out to man like James. I base, it's been a while. It has. I promise. After this week, it will be a lot more consistent because I've actually got a structured routine, not just in the house but at work as well now. So there'll be a lot more. I still may not end up actually doing additional episodes and stuff, but the streams and that will definitely be back, and the pics and everything, they'll all be back out as normal. Shout out to man like North Bank Bren. Always good to see you in the chat. Appreciate you. Um, Star Fox Spicy goes back to the app from whence he came. I can't lie. I've been meaning to try and catch up with either Josh or Dwayne because they got to explain. Obviously, you said that you didn't want to be on the app because the family members didn't know how to use the app, and it's long trying to find the app and do the monthly subscription when there's just a sky button right there. Well, did you teach them how to use the app? Is that why you're back there now? Or is it just the fact you'd rather be on this app than the iPlayer app? Because either way, you was going to be on the app regardless. I think you got some apologies to make though, Josh. But don't worry, we'll get in touch soon. They also signed Mrs. Phillips, if you know. Oh yeah. Obviously SC. Which that yeah that signing doesn't make much sense to me for MVP at all. But congrats to her for being able to parlay at least another one or two paydays. James, let's see. What is happening with Boxer must be annoying for the fighters, not knowing where their next fight will be. Yeah, um, I'll get into the Boxer stuff in a little bit actually because it ties into something else um, that occurred the other day. Um, 2025 was that the year where Channel 5 is the only TV channel player left in the boxing game. Yeah, crazy. Let's see. I presume the bra will be ringside for that Brazilian female card. I mean, you never know. Maybe. Maybe. James Eddie did say that they're not looking for more female fighters. Yeah, he said they weren't looking to sign any more female fighters, but when they saw TA and they basically just had to go for it. But not looking to sign anymore isn't the same as letting go of the entire roster. Obviously, don't get me wrong. I get some of them contracts elapsed, and maybe you just felt like it wasn't worth worth it. But I can't lie. If it wasn't for the the whole PED situation with Alicia Baumgardner, I'm pretty sure you could have got some extra change out of that because marketability wise, she's pretty much got everything. Like she's got looks, she can talk, she can fight, she can promote. Obviously, she's got the modeling background as well. It's just weird that you wouldn't be able to gain a following or at least like get an audience to watch her. Katie obviously is Katie Taylor, but again, the fact she's been outsourced twice is like you're not prepared to spend your own money. Now, whether you're saying, okay, yeah, maybe Netflix is an anomaly because they can just pay two, three times what you can pay. Okay, cool. But even before then, it's almost like you didn't really seem too keen to really put your hand back in your pocket for that. And obviously, I guess that maybe he's jaded from the likes of Chantel Cameron and those lot, the ones that for lack of better words, are ungrateful at the opportunities they were provided, and always believing that they deserved more when maybe the metrics didn't show that. And I think Katie Taylor said it perfectly after the last fight. Is that she needs to see if she can sell at 1,000 seat stadium because I've made her a lot more money than she deserved. And I'm not saying whether or not that Chantel deserves that money because I think in the ring she's great. But when you got Katie Taylor cussing your marketability, I mean that says a lot. So um, Eddie treating the females like he does heavyweights. No, but the thing is, at least he's actually trying to sign heavyweights. He signed a few of them. He's got Lenny Perro. He's got Terra Moana. He's still got AJ in for one fight or however long that he's sticking around. I mean, Johnny Fisher's still there, although him and Mark Tibbs just broke up the other day. Uh, now he's got Dave Allen back for what, 2 fights, 3 fight engagement. There's another heavyweight that what's the other heavyweight that he signed? Alexis Barrera, who obviously got injured in his before his last bout, so I had to pull out of that one. So his heavyweight stable, there's bodies there, just there's not a lot of names that like the UK know. I know a lot of them, but he needs to beef it up more. But again, too many heavyweights. I feel like it's the same situation with what Frank's gonna go through. They're very expensive to put on, and do you have the money to be able to put them on consistently against quality opposition, not just run of the mill journeyman and and faded gatekeepers, because that's not really doing anyone any good. Term one at this point, they need to just stump up the money and give him, like, might as well give him a top 20 opponent, because the people that they've been trying to give him in Australia and that, they're not fit for purpose. Give him someone from the top 20 and see if he can handle it. If you can't, then you kind of know where you're at. That's what I would say. Top 20, top 25. Sandy's back on the Sunderland card. Is she? I'll have to check. I haven't seen anything. But if that is the case, good. I would like to know that she's, back fighting on her home platform and not having to, you know, be outsourced again or having to move and big and new contracts. A man like Veritas said, "Big up Beats." Is Beats in the chat, or was you meaning me and you just kind of forgot yourself a bit there? But I appreciate it anyway. And if you are comparing me to Beats, I'll take that. Shout out to Beats, top quality. Was hoping we'd see Craig Richards versus Brad Ray on the undercard, but it's looking unlikely now. Yeah, as a point, I can. I haven't spoken to Craig in a few months. I've reacted to a couple stories and maybe sent a message here or there, but we haven't had any actual conversations for a little while. So I might have to reach out and see how he's getting on. Um, let's see what else we got. Do I have Beats blocked because I can't see him, or has Base changed his name to Beats the Kid and right? Yeah, Star Fox. Must have been a typo from Veritas, but he's usually here, so I'll forgive him. MVP signing all these fighters, but how long is this going to last? Well, yeah, I just spoke about it, James. So thank you. The one thing though is, like, they're signing up all the women and making a big scene about their MVPW division or whatever it is. They're not talking about the men that they've got though. The men that they've signed. Yoenis Tejas is. They need to sort of do more to promote him, because I think he's probably one of the few actual stars from the male division that they legitimately can have. But now, obviously, they've said that they've got to see if they can actually do decent gates and decent shows without the star power of a Jake Paul or an Amanda Serrano on the card. So I guess we'll find out. North Bank, spot on base. Until we see the MVP schedule, they've achieved nothing. They're also going to want to make a profit. How realistic is that? Yeah. Like I said, the only way that their whole game plan works is if all of their stuff is brought to Netflix, and it's like Netflix just basically give them the budget for funding purposes. That's the only way I could see it really happening. Where else are we? While Bernard won't foot the bill, these fighters won't fight. Yeah, I hear you. The man who eats lemon, shout out to you. Good evening to you. Good evening to you. And as he says, if you haven't done it already, please hit that like button, because it is appreciated and it does help. I don't know how much, but it does something. Are we talking about potential AJ versus Joker fight? No. I'm happy to if you really want to, but I just finished watching an interview with Eddie Hearn where he says that there's been no conversations whatsoever regarding the AJ versus Joker fight, and he's not sure where that story's come from. Um, but I mean, look, if it happens, I'll watch it. I've said a little while ago. Now, this was when was this? This was maybe like a year and a half, 2 years ago. I said I'd be happy to see AJ versus Joker. I mean, obviously, him or Joker losing 3 fights in a row didn't necessarily help that matter. But I always thought, yeah, AJ and Joker should fight. The two Olympic gold medalists, and then Joker kind of stagnated in his career a bit. Obviously, had the family issues, got the divorce and everything, he's been back. Obviously he fought two cab drivers and then fought an undefeated, I guess we call him prospect, and he's got three victories after three defeats. So I give him the benefit of the doubt. But again, he's another one who's just signed to Queensbury. Can we guarantee that he's going to be on the schedule? I think maybe with him, he might be, because I don't think his price is going to be as high as the others based on what's obviously recently happened to him, and the losses and the marquee value probably dipped. And he had to take a couple of gimme fights with pretty much no money behind him. So maybe the funds might be a bit generous for him. Um, and maybe we might get a Tony Yoka versus Solomon Dakers fight or something like that. Um, which actually, I don't think that'd be a bad fight. I could actually see something like that happening. But I'm just, like I said, I'm just concerned that they're signing up all the heavyweights, but none of them we're not seeing any of them on Frank shows, apart from the ones that are like, the lower level English guys, the English title and maybe British and Commonwealth title level challengers. They're the only ones we're seeing on cards. So yeah, that's all I'm kind of worried about. I guess we'll have to keep an eye on that, I suppose. Uh, Boxer did an awful job. They really have. Uh, yeah, unfortunately, it looks like that. I mean, look, it was never going to be easy, but I think Ben did make some fundamental mistakes. I think one of his biggest mistakes was not being willing to engage with like the media enough to garner like a good relationship, because you get the media on your side. They can help to sort of drive the traffic to a lot of your shows, and then sometimes you can even get free promo for some of the shows if people kind of like you a bit more. So that wasn't really one of his greatest moves, coupled with the constant not allowing your fighters to fight people off brand or off program, so not being able to sort of build their marquee values, whether it was on Sky or not. Um, some of the quote unquote the underhanded tactics, they are what they are because everyone does them, but I think he just wasn't as good at doing them without looking a bit sly as some other promoters are. But he's got he's still got some time. I mean, what's Ben, 31, 32? If he's really got the stomach for the game, he'll come back. Maybe not to be part of the big three, quote unquote, but he'll come back. Veritas, Baumgardner might have landed the Taylor fight if he stayed with Matchroom, passing the torch to a new superstar. Yeah, um, I don't know. I really don't know. Obviously, I understand why she signed for MVP, because in that moment it makes sense. But if the only way that ultimately now makes sense is when Katie Taylor retires and decides to vacate all the belts, because Alicia's not getting just a random shot at Katie Taylor. Um, and then even if she goes up and goes to collect belts, there's no big names for her to fight except for maybe Caroline Dubois and maybe Beatrice Ferreira, because she can't fight Terry Harper again because people saw what happened the last time. They won't be interested in it. So yeah, it's you live and you learn, but maybe the bag was worth it. There we go. We're walking back the beats comment. Yeah, it's all right, man. I appreciate you. As long as you're here, that's the main thing. What are these boxers going to do when all cab drivers are replaced by self-driving cars? They're gonna be in trouble because them cab drivers are gonna have more time to train. uh, Dark side of the moon in the building. Salute to you. Hey, Base and chat. I hope everyone is good. Question for you, Base. Can you please rank Shields, Taylor, and Serrano? I find it hard work. Or what, rank them in terms of 1, 2, and 3? Okay, so I got to do this in two. I got to do it two ways. To be fair, in terms of Their talent. See, this one's difficult because we have to look at where they are now, not overall. Because if we look to overall talent, I would have said number one is Taylor, two is Shields, and three is Serrano. But if you look at their careers and their achievements, number one is Taylor, number two is Serrano, and number three is Shields. Because as much as Clarissa Shields has been, I think, four times undisputed, three weight divisions undisputed, unified in a fourth weight. Yeah, unified in a fourth weight, undisputed in three. She said something about seven. She's got 17 belts. So I think 21 altogether if you count Ring Magazine belts. But of all of those belts, I think if I remember correctly, about 11, between 10 and 11 of the belts that she won were all vacant. They were literally just put on the line for the fights. No one was holding those belts, or they were just created specifically for her. I'd have to go back and double check, but I can't give you the accolades you're claiming when essentially you're being gifted accolades in divisions where there's less than 20 active competitors. As bad as that sounds. And only someone like me who actually follows women's boxing can name 5 significant wins on your resume. There's not many people that can. Whereas for Katie Taylor, I mean, all the names pretty much just roll off the tongue. Like she's beat the who's who of people from, who have fought at 130, 135, 126, 140. It's and even outside of the marquee names, all of the other women, they've been tough. Tough Argentinians, like sort of tough, I guess, Greek, Puerto Ricans, however you want to claim. There's, Katie Taylor's just, her resume is obviously the strongest of all three. And then Amanda Serrano, obviously, she's got the accolade of the 7 weight divisions. Now, again, I think in 4 of those weight divisions, she fought for vacant titles. And in her undisputed run was the only time that I think she actually unified a belt with another champion. So there's still some, politicking and smoke and mirrors there, but she had to do the work of going up and down the weight classes. Like ultimately, she killed herself to get to 115 pounds. So if she can do that, there's no reason you can't tell me that Clarissa Shields can't make that same concession to go down to 147, where she knows that there's a bunch of competition. Even if she doesn't get the biggest name in the division, there's a lot of top quality competition that you're going to get more credit for than a Lani Daniels or a Danielle Perkins or a Maricela Conejo, and and these nondescript opponents that she's been fighting since the Savannah Marshall fight. So yeah, Amanda's got a better resume than her. Not by much, I would admit, because Amanda's resume only really started to look good over the last 4 and a bit years since that first Heather Hardy fight. Prior to that, it was a bit shaky. Katie Taylor's resume is just solid from like fight number 4 onwards, with some very, very good, credible names in there. And she's the only one out of all of them. And I'm gonna say this, and I know technically it's not true, but she's the only one that never fought for a vacant title. And I know that technically that's not true because of the what's the name of the girl? I've got to get it on the phone. I don't remember off the top of my head. The thing is I can see her face, but the name is escaping me. So Kate Taylor, when she fought Was it Gutierrez? No. I think it was Bustos. Yeah, I think it was Victoria Bustos, where she missed weight on the scales, and so she lost the belt on the scales, and Katie had was able to fight for it. Was it the Bustos fight? Let me check. No, sorry, it was Esther Anahi Sanchez. That's the one. Yeah, she lost the title on the scales because she came in at 136. That's the only time Katie fought for a vacant belt. But technically, the belt, she still fought the champion, the person that was the champion for it. So as far as I'm concerned, she never fought for a vacant belt. She picked up every belt from a reigning champion, and that's why I rate her accomplishments higher. Star Fox, it's Savage Dan. I feel for. I hope he doesn't just go back to being on the HC pod. Now, shout out to Savage Dan. Shout out to Chucky as well. Like both of them is my dogs still. Um, Admittedly, I don't know Poet that well, but I've spoken to him on a couple of occasions. He's a good guy. Sometimes I definitely don't agree with the way he frames things, but I always get his sentiment. But yeah, shout out to him. Man like Dodge in the building, Dodge 172 Doyle. Big up base, big up chat. Thank you. Big up to you as well. Um what's this? That's fine. The council still need committed bin men and not ones doing 6 week camps. Very true. North Bank, perfect analysis on the three. Agree 100%. Thank you. I mean, I tried to be as fair as I could with that one in trying to remove any bias I have. Um, did you see she told Helloani she should be getting paid 10 to 50 Yeah, I saw that shit. But the joke is, you just exposed yourself because you're talking about you got a $15 million check for Layla Ali, but you're saying that you've been able to get to the 1.3, the 1.5, but like when can I get to a 3 or a 5 million payday? And so how can you scrape together 15 million for Layla Ali when you're making basically 10% of that? You're talking about Win Records got the money in escrow. So what? Win Records want to lose? They want to lose 15 million just off the bat. Are they not paying for anything else? Is there no broadcast? Is there no undercard? Are you not getting paid? Because that 50 million's got to cover everything. You and even the thing of, and you know what? I mean, look, I felt like I saw empty seats in the arena, but she did about 15,000 in the arena supposedly. Okay, that's good. That's really good. But I do know they comped about. I remember they comped about 3 or 4 thousand of those tickets to like children and whatnot, which is good. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Like I support that comping to the community, to the kids, showing them that there's a different way or whatever. But that whole production, from what I saw, granted I didn't see the whole thing, but it looked hella budget. And having them kids basically doing the national anthem and stuff is like, okay, so you just don't want to pay nobody because half of them kids were pitchy. I'm sorry. Like, obviously the girl was a little better than the boy, but she started to break down towards the end of her performance. I was just like, oh, this is, and then next part of the budget is obviously now gone to Rick Ross to come and walk you out. There's just, but that's when you could tell people don't know how to spend their money wisely. Shoot, I mean, if you're dating Papoose, get him to ring walk you out with one of his old freestyles or something, one of the ones that was popping, like, because he ain't gonna charge you. Rick Ross, he definitely got a bag, but it is what it is. But yeah, and they said that the gate was 1.5 million, which is they say is one of the highest gates in what, Michigan history or Detroit history or something. Hey, if that's the case, you know what? Congrats. But I wouldn't be surprised if maybe it was just, maybe imagine if it was just someone like Rick Ross said, you know what? Yeah. take this bread, take this 500k, take this 600k, and then now you only got to do 900k worth of tickets on the rest of them. It's who knows. I'm just speculating here, and I'm not, again, I'm not trying to throw shade. It's just there's a lot of things that kind of just seemed a bit off about that part. Yeah, 10 to 15 million dollars is delusional because you can't fight no one that's going to generate that kind of money for you unless you on like a undercard for. You got to be on a Riyadh season undercard for that kind of, and you're not. Unfortunately, you're not in entertaining enough fights for that. Dark side salute, bro. Great breakdowns. Thanks. So I try. Hope. Yeah, I'm glad you appreciated it. Um, like I said, I tried to be as fair as I could be. Was it Taylor in that fight where she once got TKO'd, but the referee called it a slip and gave her time to recover and ultimately win by decision? Was it Taylor in that fight where she got TKO'd, but the referee called it? I mean, I know Taylor was in a fight where she supposedly got knocked down by Chantel Cameron, and the referee said it was a slip, but he didn't give her any time to recover. Um, I don't know what fight that is. It'd be interesting to, if you can find the information on that, let me know because I don't know it off the top. But maybe you might give me the rest. I'm like, oh, I remember what fight you're talking about, but I don't remember that. Preach base. Maybe if she was able to sell out an arena, yeah, 100%. Did she say they do it at the Dallas Stadium? uh, which she didn't. You know me, I checked. A whole load of it was curtained off. Yeah, I saw loads of like I said, I saw loads of empty spaces in between seats between the chief support, the fight just before that with what was his name, Bryce Taylor. There was a lot of empty seats that I saw, but it did look full-ish, um, which is cool. Clarissa is all bark, no actions. Shout out to Skyliner. Yeah, but but look, best of luck. Yeah, as much as I'm not a fan of hers. I want her to do. I want her to do well from a talent point of view. She's got enough talent that she deserves to do well, but it's just everything else around it which makes it a bit unbearable if she does. Unfortunately, I can't remember who it was anymore, but it was a top female fighter, and I saw the highlights. Someone got TKO'd, and the ref called it a slip and then gave them time to recover. That's a mad statement. I'm gonna have to do some research on that one. I'll tell you what, I'll do some research, and on the next stream we'll discuss that because I can't think of who that is we're referring to. And then they ended up winning the fight afterwards. That's crazy. Interesting. Um, so we spoke about Bawatsi, although we didn't really speak in depth about it. But yeah, I've got to try and get some. I've got to speak to him or Dwayne and find out that they're ready to run back their comments around the zone. Um, yeah, she was on chicken legs all over the place. Oh, okay, interesting. Yeah, I'll find out. I'll see if I can do some research on that one. Um, Shout out to Caroline Dubois. I yeah, if it, like I said, if it's Katie Taylor, it can only be the Cameron fight, but she definitely wasn't TKO'd. Unless you just mean that they got knocked down. Yeah, that I could see that, but she definitely wasn't on chicken legs. And as soon as she got up from the ref, he basically made them carry on straight away. So um, would never have made the count. Okay, okay, that's interesting. Well, If you can find that information before the end of the stream, yeah, pop it in the chat, please. Um, right, who else? What else are we going to talk about? Shakur Stevenson saying that he wants to move up to 140 to face Teofimo Lopez. Not going to speak too much about that, but I mean, quite frankly, I think Shakur beats him. Boots Ennis, his fight. Eddie said he's going to be announcing his fight in October. I think he said in the next week or so. So they got that locked in. I mean, it's definitely not Josh Kelly. So I guess we'll have to wait and see who that one is. He's released his schedule, the current schedule up until I think mid-October. Um, it was at least 3 years ago, possibly longer. It wasn't Cameron. Um, okay. Oh, there's a couple other comments in there. Let's see. Um, would this mean we'd probably get towards a Yard Bawatsi fight if it was to happen? Look, if Anthony Yard loses the Benavidez fight, which a lot of people believe him to do, there's nothing else for him to do apart from fight Joshua Buatsi at that point. Um, Even if they say, "Oh, the fight has passed its sell by date," I think it will be strong enough that people will still watch it and demand that it happens. I think Uncle Frank will get Buatsi some big fights and will engineer a title shot, which I think Buatsi will fulfill for him, unlike Yard. It's an interesting point. And the one thing we do know is the rest of those belts at some point are gonna go vacant. I think some of them might start if they do this. They want to do their next fight in Russia. I got a feeling the WBC belt, which is obviously with Benavidez, that one's already been stripped away. I think the WBA might decide to take theirs because they always follow suit of what the WBC does. They might only be fighting for the IBF belt. And even the IBF, they're begging for their mandatory to be fulfilled. So you might just have the IBF and the WBO on the line, and one of those might have to go. So the other belts might start to scatter, and if that's the case, that's pretty good. That's good news for the rest of the division, the guys like Joshua Buatsi. But what I will say is, I don't know how much Josh is actually interested in that now. After the fight with Callum Smith, I don't know if he feels like, yeah, getting in all these wars is long. I don't want the wars. That's not what, because he said himself, look, I know that I can go to that place, but I don't want to be in wars. I want to win my fights quite easily. That kind of suggests that you gonna start going back to fighting opposition that you believe are gonna be easy cannon fodder, or domestic or European level. So we'll see. Basis might be the worst welterweight division right now. Rolly is full champion, yeah, and he was elevated to full champion after being given a vacant regular title shot. Two-time, what Devin called him, the two-time email champion of the world. But it's mad. Forget the fact that Rolly is a champion though, but he's a two-division champion. Like, let's not let that go over their heads. Arguably the shittest guy in the history of championship boxing has got a belt, a legit belt in two weight classes. And he actually did it quicker than Tank Davis, who everyone called the face and the best boxer in the world. Like, let's not let that go over our heads. Crazy. But that should give Conor Benn some impetus to get himself back down to 147. Because as much as you might want a Pacquiao fight, I think Pacquiao Rolly will be next. I mean, I think the Pacquiao can beat Rolly, and then I think Ben will try and fight Barrios. I think he'll beat Barrios. You might get a unification, Ben versus Pacquiao for the WBA and WBC titles. That would actually be pretty cool. I wouldn't hate that. Um, Trying to think what else happened. So AJ, the AJ and Jake Paul conversations aren't going away. Now I heard initially, I heard that they was looking to do that fight at the end of next year, and it was legitimate talks for it. But now they're talking about possibly that could be like the next one, or it could be at the start of the year. So Eddie said in the interview, look, they just had real talks with Nikisa, and if that fight was to be somewhere like January, February time, they wouldn't fight this year. But obviously, if it was going to be like later, like in the summer or in the winter, then they'll fight this year. But here's what I want AJ to do, and I'm actually happy for him to have the Jake Paul fight. Do it. I know you're not long left for the game, and you've got nothing real to prove. I'd say, you know what? Run back the Daniel Dubois fight. Right the wrong there. Then Tyson Fury. Then Jake Paul. Win, lose, or draw, that's your run. That's your next three fights. And then you can bow out of the game. The Jake Paul fight is just a cash grab. The Tyson Fury fight, obviously, you'll probably get up for it. He would have been out of the ring similar amounts of times, even if he comes back with a tune-up. You never know if he's got the same skills that he had prior. And run back the Daniel Dubois fight, because to be honest, you should have, prior to whatever elbow injury and the getting the pieces out of the elbow, whatever, you should have ran that back, or you should have attempted to run that back, because clearly everyone can see what the blueprint is now to beat Daniel. It's been shown. Two different people have shown you the blueprint, and technically a third person showed you the blueprint as well. They just couldn't finish off. They couldn't finish their dinner. But yeah. WBC, what's this say? WBC and WBA should lose their official credibility as sanctioning bodies. Two belt era. I mean, yes, that's a legit shout. Unfortunately, because they're the two oldest belts, it's the hardest to get them decommissioned. Shout out Alex. It's going to be Boots versus Uisma Lima for the IBO belts. Get him a top 10 ranking in the WBA too. Okay, that's a big shout. Now I've got to go and who's Uisma Lima? Hold on a second. I mean, if that's the case, I would be like, yeah, you're doing a disservice to your fans. Uisma Lima, 14-1, 10 KOs, hasn't been KO'd, super welter from Angola. Okay, well, his 4 of his last 5 opponents were undefeated. Lost to Aaron McKenna. Oh, that guy. Okay, yeah, I remember that. I remember that fight. And then 14-1, 18-0, 19-0, 15-0. Well, you know what? Okay, cool. He fought some undefeated fighters. I give him that. To be honest, there's not a lot of upside down records on his. There's only 3 upside down records, but that's still not a fight for Boots, because we're saying about getting a top 10 ranking in the WBA. He's already number 2 in the WBA. He's because he was WBA and IBF and Ring Magazine champion at 147. So he doesn't need to get a top 10 ranking. He's already number 2. No, I think that was AJ's only chance to beat Dubois, and he blew it. No, I think he could beat him. I think he could beat him now. Now that he's actually been in there, knows what he's up against, and knows what it takes to beat him, having seen what the others done, I definitely think he could. If anything, I would have said that he's more likely to beat him the second time than the first. Even though obviously I predicted him to win that fight, but I feel like Dubois in rematches is a lot easier to figure out, because you kind of already know what he's about to do, because he doesn't change. Um, what else is there? Oh, so okay, I'm conflicted about the Galao fight and Francisco Rodriguez thing, because obviously the first thing that came out was, oh, that he's a part of Eddie Reynoso's camp. Eddie Reynoso said, actually no, he's not trained by me. He doesn't train at my gym. He's just sponsored by the brand that I'm associated with, and obviously I took a picture with him. That's the first thing he said. He said, um, oh, that's me. He just said that, yeah, he's not a part of my gym. So whether we believe that or not, we've got to kind of take the um we got to take the Reynoso bit out of it for the time being. He also said, okay, well, now anyone who trains at my gym, I need full control over what's going on with them, who their nutritionists are. They have to be using my people basically so that I can regulate and trust what's going on. But then we find out that on his form that he gave in to, I guess, the WBC and the BBBOC, he put down the drink, the over the counter drink that he had or a supplement, and he put it down on the form. And they're the ones that missed the fact that it had the banned substance in it. That might be a reason for him not to actually get banned. Because the negligence is then on their part and not on his. I mean, he had a duty of care to obviously know what he was putting in his body, but he never hid anything from you. He never got caught with anything that he didn't disclose. So the fact you guys didn't do your due diligence to stop the fight before it happened, that's more on your side. So if anything, I think there's a possibility for maybe a lawsuit from Galao fight towards either, like I said, the British Boxing Board of Control, if it was them and UKAD, or if it was the WBC. They could put some kind of motion in place there, because they're the ones that didn't take care of his well-being at that time. That's very, very interesting. And obviously the Texas Commission not making it known or not, informing relevant bodies prior to the bout before that he had supposedly tested positive for something in their fight. Very strange. But one thing that's even a bit more strange about that situation, and I'll get back to comments in a moment, but he failed 2 tests, post-fight tests, but every test that he had prior to those were all clean. So here's a question that I've got. The other thing that he failed for, what do you think the possibility is that this same over-the-counter drink or supplement that he took for the Galao fight was the exact same one that he took for the one in the Texas Commission, but that they just didn't let him know? Because I don't think that thing didn't get changed to a no contest, I think, till either January. I think it was either January 6th or it was the 1st of June. I'm not sure if they did the date Americanized or in the regular UK format. But imagine if that was the case. Like, he got basically both of his tests, he got failed for the same over-the-counter supplement that he took on fight day or fight night before his test. But all these tests, like in the actual gym, came back clean. That'd be kind of crazy, right? But then the WBC said, "Oh, we're going to order an immediate rematch and put man on 12 months probation." I'll tell you, the WBC make me laugh. Mauricio Suleiman, he's like, there's something wrong with that guy. Well, actually, no, to be honest, there's nothing wrong with him. He's just a greedy mouth. Yeah, and I'm not even going to use the rest of that word. But yeah, that's nasty work of the highest order. But I hope Galal gets some kind of parity. Back to the comments, Veritas. For me, AJ should fight in this order: Fury, Miller, Dubois, and then the Talma, Pataya, Parker. So he should fight Fury, Miller, and Dubois, and then either a time or Opetaya Park or Cabello. Yeah, he ain't got 4 fights left in him. I think maximum is 3, but I reckon it's 2, to be honest. But I just like to see the 3 fight run of Dubois rematch Fury, and then Jake Paul just to finish it off, just for the sake of it. Um, I reckon it will be like Ruiz 2 with AJ probably box safe and win points or something. Yeah, I could see that. Although you can't really box safe with Dubois because if he can come forward and he can land or he can get into range, he's dangerous. You've got to put him on his back foot, or you've got to constantly hurt him and make him know that he's not having success. That's how you obviously break the will. But again, I don't think Daniel Dubois can go points in a 12-round fight. I don't think it's his mentality. He'll either put it all on the line or he'll lose faith and possibly drop out um, before you get to that moment. And if he's like, maybe even if he's losing after say 10 rounds, but he's been having success, he's going to go for the gusto in rounds 11 and 12. So you're going to have to go through hell to try and see that final bell. But brilliant segue bringing it to Dubois, because I think that's what I'll end the stream on. I've seen a lot of videos. I've seen a lot of the sort of the former pros. Obviously, I've seen a lot of people discussing about sort of whether he quit in this last fight. First things first, I want to address, who was it? I think there's a few people that said it, but the one most notably that I noticed, I saw Kugan Cassius. He had an interview, I think, with Tony Bellew, and he was saying something along the lines of like, "Oh, we can't say that because we're not qualified to know what a fighter goes through and blah 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 and blah." No, I'm sorry. That's pure cap. That's more cap than I've got on my head right now. As far as I'm concerned, you've got a right to say whatever you want. But that obviously comes along with the proviso that you then have to be held accountable to your words afterwards. I've said that numerous times. I've maintained that, and I will always maintain that whatever I say, if someone pulls up on me and wants to, challenge me for something I've said, or wants to do something because of something I've said, I said it. I stand by it. Whatever happens next, happens next. That's how I've always been. But with this whole thing of, oh well, we can't say he quit because we don't know what the game's like, or we've never been in that situation. You don't have to. It's quite comfortable. Via the Oxford Language English Dictionary, quit, verb, leave a place, usually permanently, archaic meaning, behave in a specified way, or that's more like acquit yourself. But then you've got informal, to resign from a job, informal North American, stop or discontinue an action or activity, and then what other ones have we got? Nouns. Where are we? Over time, what is the full meaning of quit? To give up or resign. To give up or resign, let go, relinquish. Yeah. So that's all the meanings. So if you're in a fight and you choose to give up, you're able to continue, but you choose to not continue, that's a quit. I don't understand what is so difficult about that. Now I understand that the connotation of calling someone a quitter off of an isolated incident, I don't agree with that per se, but even by I guess the general definition, yes, if you quit one time, you can be called a quitter. It's a very negative connotation, and I get that because obviously it's a very hard profession. But I will always maintain, number one, I didn't force you to to choose that as your profession. I didn't force you to do it. Moreover than that, like, I've paid for you to do a quote unquote job. So if I pay for someone to come and paint my house, and they decide that they want to give up halfway or three quarters of the way through, I didn't get my money's worth. So if I want to call them, oh, you quit, you're a quitter, like whatever, should I not have the right to do that? If I've paid you my hard-earned money, I've got the right to say whatever I want. Let's be clear. Now, yes, again, as I said, that if I've got to be held accountable to that, cool, that's fine. But if I've paid, I can say what I want. I can critique you how I choose to critique you, because you've accepted my hard-earned money that you probably earn a lot more than I have in that sense. And yeah, if you then want to say ultimately, look, I'm I don't feel comfortable being able to call someone a quitter because they're doing a job that I would never think to do. Okay, that's fine, but forget about them as a person and just talk about the incident that occurred. Did they quit in that fight? Yes or no? And then if someone says no, they didn't quit, but they just decided they had enough, or they chose not to continue, it's the exact same thing. You're just trying to put a different word on it so it maybe doesn't sound as harsh, but it's the same thing. A quit is a quit. And I'm tired of everyone acting like the word itself isn't plain and specific. You don't have to um take it to levels of, oh, well, it's bad for you to say that. No, just say what it is, and ultimately, was it justified? Now, if someone says that Daniel quit in that fight, well, he was right to quit, because that punch that he took, like, remember, Anthony Joshua hit him with one of the hardest punches he's ever thrown in his life, and Daniel ate that shit and backed up. This punch took his legs from underneath him, like, discombobulated. So if he decided, well, I don't want another one of those, I'm not. Who am I to say? I can say that, oh, he quit. Yeah, he quit in that fight, but I could also say he was right to do so, because if you were gonna take another one of those, you stupid. You think if I take a shot like that I'm getting up for another one, realistically knowing that I have got no chance of winning? What am I doing? Just trying to prove how tough I am? Yes, cool, I might be, and maybe in a different setting, that might be, a way to earn your stripes and prove your toughness or whatever. But in a situation like that, where you ain't even really got a puncher's chance anymore because everything's been taken from you, like, yeah, it's okay to quit. And I would say it was smart. Same way it was smart for him to quit in the Joe Joyce fight with the broken eye socket or whatever. The only thing that I think was bad about that is his team saw that he was on the ground and looking like he might not get back up, and they didn't throw the towel in to stop him from being given the moniker in the first place. That's the thing, that on two occasions he wasn't given the necessary help from his corner, and on this one he was, but it was way too late. However, I've seen, like I said, a lot of people said, "Oh, did he quit or whatever?" I agree. Dillian White said it perfectly, and a couple other people said it perfectly. He didn't quit in that fight. I've watched the fight back several times, especially that punch. That punch was beautiful. The Ivan was beautiful, but um, I've looked at it numerous times. He didn't quit. It's not even that he sat out the count. Like, he just legit couldn't make the count. And people keep saying that, oh, but if you get up on his feet at 10, and he was walking to his corner, like, all calm and calm. No, that's the thing. It's almost like people have got the blinders on from what he did in the first fight with Usyk, and ultimately what he did in the Joe Joyce fight. If you actually look at the fight, and I'm so pissed that I can't show footage of it, because I'm not a DAZN affiliate like that, even though I've been on DAZN before, but I won't get the accreditation to have that footage. But you see, after he takes the shot and gets knocked down, and Usyk goes to the neutral corner, He's on his side still when the referee counts 6. The referee's counting 7 as he gets up to to his, to sort of sitting on his backside. You can see the referee when the referee gets to 8. Obviously, he's trying to focus in on his corner to see what to do. Help me. The referee is on 8. He's still on his backside. As the referee gets to 9 and goes to wave it off, that's when he's starting to get up. He doesn't actually get up onto his feet. Like, it's already waved off when he's trying to get up. He doesn't even, because people say, oh, he's on his knee until the 10 and then springs up. No, he didn't actually reach his knee until that 9 point. He had to take that breath to try and compose himself to even get off the ground in the first place. He doesn't actually reach his feet until about 11 and a half, 12. And yeah, okay, he walks back and he's coherent. His body, his equilibrium might be fine, but his senses were clearly scrambled. You saw it even when he took the shot and he's looking around. You can see his eyes weren't clear. The eyes were quite clearly, I'm not saying they were glazed over, but he wasn't focused. And it's just weird to me how so many people who've seen the fight so many times have so many more angles of the fight than I have, including the ones maybe on the Instagrams or whatever. Like how you see all of that, but yet you can't see that this guy didn't just choose to sit out. He just couldn't make the count. Because if you're gonna call Daniel Dubois a quitter say that he quit in that fight with Usyk, then are we gonna call Joe Joyce a quitter for the Zhang fight? Because he got up to his feet without stumbling about just as soon as the referee waved off the count. But he, again, there was someone, he was on his knee, and didn't get up until after it was waved, but he was fine. Walking fine. But you could tell that the guy was hurt. He was badly hurt at that moment. So I just feel like for people, if people watch it back properly, they will get a firm understanding. Now, the only person whose opinion on the quote-unquote quit in this one that I've actually, to a degree, agree with is Derek Chisora. Because he's saying, no, he didn't. He's not like, oh, he quit. Like he chose to stay down. So, but he quit in the fight from that first round, realizing that he wasn't going to be able to win, and so basically tried to just go into survival mode and hope that maybe he could catch one lucky shot. I can understand that perspective if you're going to say he basically stopped trying to he stopped trying to win the fight and thought, let me just try and survive and see what happens down the stretch. I can understand that. But in terms of that shot that he got hit with, and Dillian Whyte said it perfectly, he put him over as a hard shot. And he's like, I don't know how coherent or how much his brains were scrambled or whatever. He just got counted out. It's just that simple. He couldn't continue, and that's what I truly believe. And if he had have got to his feet, it would have been foolish of the referee or his corner to allow him to stay in that fight, because he was already, for lack of a better phrase, blowing at his ass. Pause from like round 2, round 3. 2 more rounds. He'd just been knocked down twice. One equilibrium shot, one very heavy knockdown. What did you want to do? Have him just suffer a brutal? He'd probably never be a guy that can get switched out cold, like just like that and out like a light. But he was gone. He definitely reminded me of Frank Bruno in that moment. Like Frank would be up on his feet, but he's just like, he's out of it. Daniel, I feel like, was out of it. He's got good powers of recovery, but he was just out of it for the period of time that he was on the floor. And as he started to get up, he was already didn't make the count. So that's my opinion on it. Let me see what the okay, Dillian looks locked in and in good shape right now. I'm getting excited. Oh yeah. Yep. Whyte versus the Town. We're gonna talk about that a bit later on we'll probably talk about that next week. But look, everyone knows that I'm a very, I don't even want to call myself a fan of Dillian White. I'm a supporter of Dillian White, and I have been from pretty much 2014, since when he came back from the maybe 2015 when he came back from the drugs issue, which was very very unlucky on his part. And obviously, I knew who he was before then, but I wasn't really watching his watching his career like that prior. But I've always been a supporter of Dillian, and win, lose or draw, I will continue to be. Um, he's one of the few people that I will always give that grace to. Um, but yeah, Dark Side of the Moon says, everyone please get the likes up. I appreciate it. Star Fox Shy says, I'm a bit late of the topic, had to pop out, but some pushback on Shields going down weights. She's carrying a lot behind her. Taylor doesn't have the same yams, so it's easier. Yeah, I hear that. Um, I hear that. But ultimately, it just means there's a sacrifice that's got to be made. And like I said, she hasn't got to go down to fight, because Katie probably would never go above 147. She doesn't even make 140 on the scales. Um, so forget fighting Katie Taylor, because that's just a fight you can't have. But you can fight a Chantel Cameron. You can fight a Michaela Mayer, maybe a catch weight of 150 for both of them, because Chantel can make 150. Um, Lauren Price, you could fight Lauren Price at 150 for a 154 belt in a catchweight bout if you don't want to do the full 147. But there's a lot of women that you can fight between that 140, 147, 154 range that will get you more credible scalps than who you are fighting at 175. Because unfortunately, 147 is kind of the end of the um, maybe not necessarily the deepest part of the talent pool for women, but it's the last vestige of where you can get relatively competitive fights all the way through the division. 168 has a few people, but it's a few people, and that's it. So yeah, but I understand what you're saying about the yams, but maybe just like I said, just gotta maybe control the eating habits a bit. For me, he looked dazed and concussed. I don't think it's really that hard to see. There you go, Philip. But for some reason, a lot of people either they can't see it or they've chosen not to see it just because of past behavior. Mr. S. Triple D is a quitter with triple form, bro. No need to try defend him. Mr. S, shout out to you. But listen, I'm a person who's accused him of quitting on numerous times. I'm just saying this last one, he didn't quit. And I think it's more, this is almost to me a situation of, that the boy who cried wolf. So when it really happens, you don't actually believe them because they've done it so many times before, or they've had that tendency in them so many times before. Yes, he has that tendency of when things ain't going his way, either looking for a way out or looking for help that doesn't basically get given to him. Um, which I've said before, is about him, his team, and the way they function. He can't think for himself. He has to be helped and coached through things. I said this on Monday Night Smoke on Monday, and it reigns true. But in this one, he might, if he's a quitter by trade, cool. But I'm just saying, on this particular occasion, he didn't quit. That's all I'm saying. Star Fox, Daniel quit. He does this when it doesn't go his way. Okay. Don Charles does the same with his mouth. Pause. All right. White versus light skin. This is not the yams. His finger papoose. What? I mean, I don't really want to think of him, but I mean, can we guarantee that he gets past the yams? If you know what I mean. I don't know. He might appreciate a bit less back there. Who else has Don Charles got in his stable? He has done a great job with Triple D thus far over his 2 to 3 years working with him. Shout out to Chris. I think Tony Yoka's working with him at the minute. So he's got Tony Yoka in the stable. And if I remember correctly, I think he's got a cruiserweight that he works with. but I don't know everyone in his stable, to be fair. But I know he did have Tony Yoka. Don't know if he's still there, but he was there previous. I walk in on base defending the quitter. Shout out Kwame. No, as I said before, is he a quitter by trade? I definitely believe the quit gene is in him, but I also think a part of that is again his. I think look, we've all established by now there's a special needs function in there somewhere. I don't think he processes information and data the same way that a lot of us do. And when things aren't when he doesn't have the answer to an equation or a problem, or he hasn't been told, it's almost like I feel he just shuts down. Like mentally he shuts down, physically he shuts down. He just wants to escape a problematic situation that he hasn't been taught how to overcome. And again, we look, for as much time as we've suspected the guy's on the spectrum and he's autistic or got Asperger's or something, that could be the way that he processes it. He's not a natural fighter like that. He's a natural boxer. He's a natural athlete. He's a like a specimen of a man in that sense, but mentally he can't figure it out for himself. And when he's unable to figure it out, he shuts down and he wants out. And to be honest, again, as I said, I've got an autistic. I've got an autistic. I'll call her my niece. She's not really. She's more like my goddaughter. But whenever she's in an uncomfortable situation, the first thing she shuts down. She wants to escape. She wants to get out of there and be comfortable. I wouldn't be surprised if it's not a similar situation. So, in that sense, I give him grace. Does he quit? Yes, but I'm just saying on this one particular time, he didn't quit. He might be a quitter by trade for whatever reasons, as we've spoken, but in this instance, he didn't quit, and I gave you all the reasons why he didn't quit. Anyone, I implore you just to go back, re-watch it, and watch the referee's count as well, and watch by the time he's trying to get to his feet, and you'll see it's not, oh, he's on his knee and then he pops up at 10. No, he doesn't reach his feet until almost the 12-second point of the count. So, yeah. Daniel should start a new rap group, Quitter by Nature, hip hop raise settings. Star Fox, you're terrible. All right, look. With that being said, let me get one last comment in there. If that's how he is boxing really for him? Stan must be making him box for food. Well, look, his dad did say the other day, Daniel needs to decide what he wants to do moving forward. He's going to let him decide. So maybe Daniel will tell him, okay, this isn't really for me anymore. And if that's the case, he's had a brilliant career. He's had a much better career than a lot of people. But it's very obvious that within that family, the dad is the driving force to having people box. Because the only person who it seems actually got to choose whether they wanted to box and had to beg to box is Caroline. Even the younger brother, I mean, he's boxing now. But I don't know if he really wants to or if he's the next off the rack. So who knows? But yeah, look, we're gonna leave it there, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate you. We've been going almost an hour and a half. It's been a while since I've done one of these. We will be going back to them again. Don't forget, we will be doing watch alongs again. Watch along tomorrow for SummerSlam Night 1. Watch along on Sunday for SummerSlam Night 2. And I think they're starting at 11 o'clock, which means that they should finish by 3, which is good. I think I can make it to 3 o'clock. Anything later than that is going to be a bit of a problem. But yeah. Anyway, shout out to you guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll catch you in the next one. We're going to get back to more regular streams and content for the channel from next week onwards. Now I've got a few things sorted that needed to get dealt with. But yeah, until then, peace and see you soon. Thank you very much for watching. Catch you soon.
Maybe I'ma make it, maybe I'm not. In time we'll see. But who better than me? I don't care if you agree. I ain't saying that I'm better than anyone. But who better than me?